My name is Russell Lawrence, and this is my persuasive speech. I'll be presenting eating consciously. So in college, it seems we don't always have the best dining options, but there's a much larger reality that threatens your health every day other than this simple problem. And it is genetically modified organisms. This is the Belgian blue super cow, and it is a genetically modified organism that has had its genes altered so that its muscle mass can grow larger than it typically would and makes the meat leaner. But as you can see, it's pink and white, very, very overly muscular, doesn't look very happy, and looks pretty unhealthy. So, processed foods are a cultural norm today in America that is a detrimental factor to your health. But by eating non-GMO products and working together to support labeling of GMOs in our community, we can better not only our own lifestyles, but also strive for a healthier and informed campus. I've pored over various research websites dedicated to discussing exactly what GMOs are, and what I've found is pretty alarming. So I've shown you what a genetically modified organism, bovine specifically, looks like, but genetically modified organisms also affect animals if their feed is genetically modified. So, according to Jeffrey Smith from the Institute for Responsible Technology in August of 2011, genetically modified feed leads to organ issues, gastrointestinal and immune disorders, accelerated aging, and infertility in these animals. Additionally, growth hormones are condemned by the American Public Health Association and the American Nurse Association because the milk contained in these dairy cows actually has a chemical called IGF-1, which is directly linked to cancer. So the U.S. us eating GMOs must be bad, honestly, if these animals are affected adversely through their health. Another thing that Jeffrey has said is genes inserted into GM soy, for example, can transfer into the DNA of can transfer DNA into the bacteria living inside of humans. So a toxic insecticide produced by genetically modified corn was actually found in the food of pregnant women and their unborn fetuses. That's pretty alarming. So in the US, the government has approved GMOs based on studies conducted by the same corporations that created them and profit from their sale. In America, GMOs make up 80% of the processed food you eat, so pretty much a lot of the food that you're eating already has GMOs in it. The Center for Food Safety, which is a website talking about the impact of GMOs, says over 60 countries are against GMOs, and America is pretty much the only large company that supports GMOs. All the green countries have regulations against GMOs to keep them in less of their food. The light green companies have regulations restricting them a little bit less. The blue countries are countries that completely ban GMOs. As you can see, America is just a blank slate. So, GMOs are backed by the industry in America, but they're backed with a blind eye. Secret agency memos made public by a lawsuit show that overwhelming consensus among even the Food and Drug Administration's own scientists showed that GMOs can create unpredictable, hard-to-detect side effects, and they urged long-term safety studies that were never done. So, more to GMOs is that most and all GMOs contain a gene that helps them repel herbicide and insecticide, and this is so that you can grow your crops without getting attacked by insects. And that sounds good because, insects can ruin your crop. Well, this is actually bad because insecticide repellent plants can actually form superbugs and also genetically modifying organisms can create super weeds as well. So for instance, if you have a problem like greening, where your crops are all dying because of a disease, the problem with splicing spinach with oranges is that if an organism were to be immune to both of those things, it would affect spinach and orange. So the problem with that is you don't have biodiversity. You need to grow different kinds of crops, different kinds of oranges, so that if one orange crop dies, you can grow another one and you won't be in trouble. But if we all grow the same orange crop that's genetically mutated, then oranges will all die. Genetically modified canola also was found wild in North Dakota and California, and it's threatening to pass its herbicide repellentness to a local weed, which means all these local weeds will be repellent to herbicide and insecticide. Roundup is specifically mostly the herbicide that is made like that these plants are repellent to. But Roundup is linked to sterility, hormone deficiency, birth defects, and also cancer. So GMOs, just to recap, reduce biodiversity, pollute water resources, and are pretty much uncontrollable because they cross-pollinate and naturally spread their genetically modified genes to other plants. But this sounds good because you'd think maybe like having a larger yield of crops from your genetically modified organisms would be great, but this is false because according to the report from the International Assessment of Agricultural Knowledge, Science, and Technological Development, 400 scientists from 60 nations said that genetically modified crop yields were highly variable, and in some cases yield declined. So there's no correlation to having genetically modified organisms and growing more crops. GMOs are a formidable foe that are supported by the US government and farms, but how can you fight back if you're concerned about your health, which you might be? Well, there are some solutions. The first one is just buy organically from your local farmer's market that doesn't use pesticide on their crops or genetically modified organisms. There's also non-GMOproject.org, which has its own form of foods and list that you can, if you're worried about, I can't eat pizza, you can click on this link and they'll show you alternatives to like genetically modified like pizza, because their genetically modified organisms are in everything. Within our community, there's also a company called No Bad Apple, and No Bad Apple helps you find organic products within the Winston-Salem community. Specifically, they deliver them to Campus Kitchen, and they get all of their ingredients from Wholesome Country Creamery, which is a free-range farm for cows. And look at those happy cows. They just look happy. But also, the dining options in Wake Forest are pretty limited. You have the pit. So what should we do about that? Well, companies have lately been starting to label their food because of large outcry of support. According to the justlabelIt.org, there is a survey that they found in 2014 where 90% of the people that they asked said that they would like to have genetically engineered organisms labeled. And so companies that support this measure, and most of them are like the companies that you would expect. Cliff Bar supports labeling their genetically modified food, if any. And companies such as that are labeling their food. So my solution is, why don't we start labeling food that we serve here on campus? And if we label food and work together with sustainability on campus, we can get the administration to really support this measure. And just by being more aware of GMOs, you can be more aware of what you're eating. Now that you're aware of the harmful toxins we all accept, you can take simple steps to be healthier. GMOs are directly linked to various health problems and contaminate other crops, posing a larger problem to the environment as well. But by taking small steps to avoid buying and eating GMO products, we will make GMO industry less viable and commercially cause a change in what is manufactured. So doing what we can in college is difficult, but I hope that you can take some of these small steps to purchase organically and make a change in the Wake Forest bubble. After this, I just want you to ask yourself, do you know what you're eating? And don't you have a right? Thank you.